how many of you are electrical engineers here? Electrical or electronics? Mechanical? Civil? Okay, I mean, there's a fair share of all these core sectors. So I'm going to now just take you through a bit about these, the factory automation side. From an engineer's perspective, if you see, I mean, industrial automation, it has got everything because, it works in a factory. There is a factory. How many of you have visited factory, by the way? Any factory? Very few. I mean, quite understandable. But what is strange is, I have seen people who have been engineers, who have been mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, chemical engineers, who have been working in IT companies, who started their career, of course, in their IT companies, who have never been to a factory. So, an engineer not going to a factory is something, which I believe, probably they have wasted their time. So, if you really go into a factory, whether you're any engineer, mainly electrical and electronics, you will have to have a little bit of domain knowledge about all these mechanical equipment, etc., which you will always find in all factories. So it's actually a combination of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, good amount of instrumentation because instrumentation is all over the place, and communication engineering. And like Anand said, it's got huge amount of software. Real-time software. It's a little different than the normal software that you operate in IT companies. Though, IT is pervading into industry and industry is coming into IT. Please, next. So, where does the automation actually fit into a business? Here in this particular, diagram, I have basically shown you factory at the lowest level where you have all the machines operating. There are, if you go to a paper mill, you will find a lot of paper machines operating. You will find steel plant, you will find from molten metal, strips being made, from their coils being made, and finally it goes into an automobile industry or a cycle industry or wherever, the metals are used. If you go to a sugar industry, it starts from basically cane and then, it is converted into sugar. Therefore, that is the basis level of this, any factory. So obviously these factories and these machines are operated by electrical and electronic equipment. And therefore, the question of integrating all these systems together comes, and we have the factory management actually operating and controlling all the elements that go into a factory in the area of electrical and electronics at the factory management level. And then finally, there's the enterprise level, which actually goes into the corporate headquarters, etc., and then they are linked together. So this essentially, is some sort of you can say, how the automation fits into a business. Next. If you have to look at the entire spectrum of automation, it's a very, very wide area. Anant mentioned about sensors, for instance. So sensors and devices which actually run the actual machines, they are absolutely at the base level. They run motors, they run machines, they sense actually temperature, they sense actually pressure, and then these are all used to process and then control, basically. Therefore, you have a level 0, which is basically the sensor area, level 1, which is a controller level, where actually all these sensing devices give out signals, and they control the machines. So if you go to any factory, you will have number of areas. So, if you, for instance, if you go to a paper mill, for instance, there's a pulp mill area where actually basically from either from bagasse or from paper, waste paper, or from wood, they make pulp. From pulp, they actually make paper. Then the paper is cut and actually trimmed and sent to wherever it is for use by us. Therefore, this level actually controls those machines. Then obviously there are many areas in a factory where each of these machines are being controlled. Therefore, now they want to centralize that and take it to one single point, what they call the cell level or the machine level. Therefore, that goes into the next level, which is the level 2. Then level 3 is you do the complete plant automation, where the factory manager sitting in one place should be able to see what's going on in the plant and change the schedules the way he wants, and he will know if there are any faults at any levels or any production actually gaps that come out of some defects at some point. Therefore, he will be at the apex level, be able to know what is going on in the factory. Then, of course, there was the 5th level, which was actually they incorporated ERPs, they incorporated enterprise solutions, etc., to actually run the business. That's the business level. And there was this gap of this fourth level, which existed for a long time in the industry, that the factory was completely isolated from the enterprise. And therefore, in the last couple of years, actually a lot of work has gone into this area called the MES, or the plant corporate management levels, where they have linked the factory to the ERP solution to actually make it some sort of a very homogeneous situation where, right from the headquarters, one could actually operate the factory, change its schedules, know what the faults are, etc. Therefore, this entire spectrum actually constitutes what is known as automation. This is the entire spectrum of automation. Next, please. So, if you look at these basically elements of industrial automation, there are sensors which measure from the basics of the machine. Then it compares. Basically, it compares with the set values that were set. Then it computes, and then it corrects. Therefore, this is the entire what we call a feedback system in order to ensure that whatever is the set values, they are finally resorted to, and whatever actually are what we want to come out of the factory production, it comes out. Now, obviously, the sensors they do the sensing, transducers they convert, and controllers they control, and field control elements actually they control the entire plant. Next. Industrial automation actually operates in two different areas. One is factory automation with discrete manufacturing. When we say discrete manufacturing means automobile plants, where the process is such that you have individual items coming out with its own list of materials, bill of materials, etc., like automotive or a tablet in a pharmaceutical industry, things like that, or a continuous process like oil, like chemical industries, where it's a continuous process. Therefore, in both these areas, you have this industrial automation actually operating, and you will always find that irrespective of which area it operates in, actually the items that are common to both are variable speed drives. Some of your electrical engineers might be knowing PLCs, SCADA, HMI, they all play a very great role. Next. Now I'll take you through the evolvement that took place actually in the industrial automation in the last 40 years. If you take industrial automation area, there is the machine control. As I told you, there are the motors which are running, and there are areas which are running right in the mechanicals, connected with the mechanicals in the plant. So there, they used to have what is known as an MG set to start with. I do not know how many electrical engineers have ever heard of a Ward-Leonard set. How many of you? When Anant was asking, I saw all hands going up for everything that he asked. But whatever I ask, I would hardly find any hand, I presume, because it's 40 years old and they've all gone now. So how many of you heard about Ward-Leonard sets? 2, that's very good. Really good. So Ward-Leonard set is where it started for varying the speed of motors. And it used to be a huge system. There used to be an AC motor. It used to drive a DC generator. The DC generator used to drive a DC motor. And they used to change the flux of the DC generator to vary the speed of the DC motor because they wanted a variable speed at the end of the process. Now, all that is gone now. Of course, then came DC drives, which was basically thyristor operated, and directly from AC you would move into a DC drive, and DC drive would run the DC motor. And now actually even DC drives have found their way out, because DC machines, they found it's not very easy to maintain. Therefore, obviously, because of the commutator, etc., and therefore they have changed to AC drives being very common. The reason for this, I would say this change from MG to DC to AC is because it was not possible to vary the speed of AC motors in those times. Because one of the reasons, as many of you will know, actually the speed of the motor would be dependent on the number of poles and the frequency. And the very fact that the number of poles cannot be changed for a motor and it was not possible to vary the frequency in those days. The technology did not exist. Therefore, they had to go to a DC drive, because they could, that's the only way they could do. They could vary the armature voltage. So it's later technologies that have come that which made DC more or less obsolete. I won't say it's obsolete as yet, because there are still advantages of DC machines because of the high torque, etc. But then now we operate mostly on AC drives. In the process side, 40 years back, it used to be relay logic. I mean, I don't know how many of you know about relay logic. Relay logic means there used to be, yes, good. Then it became static logic. In the senses, it became using transistors, ASICs, etc. Then, of course, it found its way to programmable logic controller somewhere in the 80s, and then finally to distributed control, and now, of course, it's all handled through PC. So, of course, programmable logic control still holds, but it holds a lot of, I would say, intelligence in itself. The third area is the electronics. In electronics, in those days, it used to be just transistors, and millions of transistors all connected together. They got reduced to ICs, and then finally ASICs and microprocessor, and then to embedded circuits, which is now. Take the power devices, for instance. In those days, I mean, when I was involved in the industry, it used to be thyratrons and mercury arc rectifiers. There would be huge stuff. I mean, and one of the major projects that I undertook in those days was conversion of thyratron mercury arc rectifier to thyristors in all steel plants. Every steel plant that was running had these huge, electrical equipment, and they all had these thyratrons and mercury arc rectifiers. And they used to have a completely different technology. And then came thyristors. Thyristors are basically, as you know, diodes and thyristors. How many of you know what is a thyristor? It's basically an electronic switch. A diode actually operates in one unidirection, and a thyristor operates in both the directions, except that in one of the directions you can control it. And then finally, from thyristors emerged IGBTs, which is insulated gate bipolar transistors, which allows you to have bidirection as well as control both the directions. So this is how the basically the technology changed in these four areas. Then we had the communication side. In those days, I mean, the plants, each of these plants, if you go to any cement plant or a steel plant or a paper mill, the plant is actually stretched over kilometers and kilometers. I mean, one department may be somewhere here, another 20 kilometers away, I mean, another 5 kilometers away will be another department. Now, all these had to be discretely wired in those days. And huge amount of, cables were being put. And if there was any problem in some cable getting cut, we'll never be able to find out and spend a lot of downtime on that. So then it became plant bus. See, I'm not going to get into the technology. I'm just going through this, the evolving. So if you have any specific questions, later you can ask me. So proprietary plant bus, which means actually there was a bus running, and all these used from each of these centers, they used to be connected there. Then, of course, the open architecture, and then finally the mobile wireless, and now the cloud, which operates within the plant. Software originally, when it started, it had proprietary software, which was vendor specific. If you brought equipment from a particular vendor, you could not actually link it with equipment of another vendor. So slowly it became again open architecture, where you could talk to any vendor and actually get them together. Then embedded software came into the picture. Then finally, today, of course, in the software, we have MES and ERP operating within the plant. In the data side, we used to convert, actually, where we need to convert a lot of information, we used to have what was known as SCADA in those days, where you would get all the data there and look at the information and get it back. It used to be very slow, and the amount of information that you got was very low, and obviously it was all analog. Then, of course, identifying trends, etc. And now, finally, now, of course, it has come to mobile application, where in a mobile itself, you can see what is going on in a plant.